2023 was a very good year for both Warrior Cats and Wings of Fire. Wings of Fire had a graphic novel, a coloring book, and a guide on how to draw dragons. Fun fact, the dragon drawing guidebook was made with help from a former fan, who you might know as Peregrine Sella. Warrior Cats had several merch releases, a new Super Edition, a new main series book, and much more. They also announced a graphic novel adaptation of the first series, which will be releasing July 16th of this year. Both series also released a guide. Wings of Fire released a guide to the Dragon World, its first guide. Warrior Cats released an update for the Ultimate Guide to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Warrior Cats. It is only natural to compare Warrior Cats and Wings of Fire. People have been doing that for ages, including myself. I even made a video where I ranked which fandom is better. So it is even more natural to compare them when they release the same product at pretty much the same time. So which guide is better? Let's hop into the books and find out. Before we get started, if you are new to the channel, please think about subscribing. I regularly post both Wings of Fire and Warrior Cats content, so you'll never be bored. And to my current subscribers, thank you so much for supporting me. I wouldn't have gone here without y'all. Just so you all know, a guide to the Dragon World will just be called Dragon World, and the Warrior Cats Ultimate Guide will just be called the Warrior's Guide. I don't want to say the incredibly long official names every time I say their names. Though that would pad my runtime, my tongue might literally become numb from that. Now, without further ado, let's start with Category 1, Art. Wings of Fire has 11 pieces of full art which take up an entire page. 10 of them are fully unique drawings made of queens. However, the guide also has a lot of smaller pieces of art scattered throughout the book, such as this bust of Tailwind the Skywing and this drawing of a mudwing in a mud pile. The art is very imaginative with bold poses. The artist for this guide, who I believe is Joy Ang, did all this without references. Wings of Fire is a fantasy world, full of elements that are not commonly found in nature, like dragons. When it comes to cats, you can simply walk outside, see one, and draw it from there, but with dragons, there are much fewer references. Unless you have a 3D model, it all has to be done from imagination, and even that 3D model was made from someone's imagination. Because that is very easy to make dragons look weird, especially in a realistic style. I mean, just look at what they did to poor Sapphire from the Aragon movie. On the other hand, you can make things too realistic, to the point where they don't look fun or emotional anymore. This problem is seen in the unfortunately well-earning Lion King 2019, where Simba stares blankly at his father dying. Joy Ang's artwork strikes up the perfect balance between realistic and emotional. It also is incredibly colorful. When looking at her art, one feels as though they've entered the world that she depicts. There's only one piece that I particularly dislike. This one of Queen Glacier. Her wings look way too big and lopsided and weird. It might just be that Ice Wings have an ugly angle, and Joy Ang happened to catch Queen Glacier in it, but I still find it pretty ugly. The drawings that are not of dragons also rock. I love this drawing of two birds. I want to pet them so badly. This drawing of a human, leaves me with more questions than I already had about Wings of Fire's size rules though. Warrior's Guide, on the other paw, has 32 pieces of art. Around half of them are unique to the book and have never been seen before on covers or in other official media. The art was made by Owen Richardson, who is often referred to as the new artist, despite having his job much longer than the number of people have been in the fandom. One can't fault him for all the problems in the art. It is pretty likely that he wasn't given proper information on the characters he drew, or that he didn't have a healthy deadline. Here's an example of another book cover he drew, which looks much better, likely because he wasn't forced to cram a bunch of art into a deadline. A few of the characters are blatant redraws from previous drawings. Ragged Star looks like Greystripe, and Bright Heart is possibly a retrace of Daisy? The art seems to suffer from having too many overlays, which makes the color of the cats look strange and muddled. This can be seen elsewhere in Warriors, such as the piss yellow color of River. The muddled fur color also seems to confuse the editors, who didn't get the pelt color right for a large number of cats. The most hilarious of which has to be making Blue Star, once known as Blue Fur, have white fur. The Warrior's Guide also continues a problem that the previous artist had, censoring disabled characters. Briarlight, Cinderpelt, and Jagged Peak all had their legs covered or hidden in some sort of way. For more problems with the art, I recommend checking out my two videos that I did redrawing and reviewing some of the guide's designs. With all the problems with the Warriors art and all the effort put into the Wings of Fire art, this point has to go to Wings of Fire, proving that quantity does not always equal quality. Both Warrior Cats and Dragon World include stories, however they go about it in very different ways. Warrior Cats includes a few stories. 2 of them are ceremonies, and there are 4 fully new stories. Each section for each group of cats comes with an introduction to the group, and there are 8 distinct groups of cats featured. The 4 fully new stories provide us with glimpses of our favorite characters we never saw before, but it provides nothing that we didn't already know about them, and it doesn't expand the world in any way. Most of the guide and set of stories is made up of a wiki-like format providing information on the characters. The character sections, once again, are full of stuff we already knew about them. Dragon World stories are not rehashes on what we already knew, or more information on events that we already read about. Instead, it expands the lore and builds upon the world, changing what we know about it. The 3 stories that do that are the Blood Red Mudwing Egg, the Sandwing Secession, and additional pages from the Book of Clearsight. The Book of Clearsight is not a rehash, as it introduced an entirely new species to the series, the Krakens. All the stories have different formats as well, which keeps them from being boring. Queen Scarlet has a murder list, Clearsight has a letter, and there's an interview section with Deathbringer, Glory, and Mastermind. I have to give the point for this section to Wings of Fire. Now it's time for focus. Warrior Cats focuses on its characters. The characters that they use are a bit strange in who they chose, and it is noted that it lacks a protagonist from the current arc, but that is likely because their stories aren't over yet. Warrior Cats reads more like a wiki than a guide to the world for me. Everything I read in there I could have gotten from the Warrior Cats wiki a few months ago. There is nothing new. I feel like the old, I think it's called the Field Guide, did this concept of a guide much better. It didn't read like a wiki, it added new information while also going over a lot about the world. I prefer it much more to the old Ultimate Guide, and I feel like the Aaron should do a new one, seeing as the clans have changed so much. And maybe we could get some elaboration on some newer things, like the sisters, or what in the world does a mediator do, because it seems like Tree hasn't done anything since he became a mediator. When it comes to page allocation, some characters took up 2 pages when they only should have taken up 1 because their story is boring or they aren't important to the series. And some cats only got 1 page when they really needed 2. Either way, the space that they did get isn't very well utilized. Some 2-pagers still have a large amount of blank space at the bottom of the next page, which could have been used to tell more of their recent actions. And some characters' pages even forget their most iconic moments. Dragon Guide, on the other paw, casts a broader net on the world itself. While it did have some sections about specific dragons like Queen Egret of the Mudwings, we still learned a lot more than just facts about her in that section, and we got to learn about the Mudwing royalty crisis, which has been hinted to before in the books. Dragon Guide also uses up all the space it has. While I have some problems with the print being so large, at least there aren't any awkward blank spaces where something could have been. Instead, there are drawings, footnotes, scorch marks, etc., etc. The point goes to Wings of Fire due to its originality and good use of space. An important part of purchasing a book is the price. The price determines how accessible the book is to people. However, if you cannot purchase a book, you can always get it through other ways, such as your local library. On Amazon, the price for Warrior's Guide is $21. The price for Dragon World is $19. Dragon World costs $2 less than Warrior's Guide, allowing it to win this round. Wings of Fire wins all categories: art, writing, focus, and price. I'm sorry, I'm trying not to be biased, but it's just so much better in so many different ways. But that's just my opinion. Which book are you getting if you don't have any of them yet? If you have both, which one did you like better? Comment down below. If you liked this video, feel free to subscribe. I make Wings of Fire and Warrior Cats videos pretty often, and your support would mean a lot to me. And to those who've already subscribed, thank you for your continued support. I wouldn't have gotten here without y'all. Peace, Rogan out.